From the Alvin and Rosalie Sarachek studio, PBS Kansas presents Ageless Enthusiasm. Coming up on this episode of Ageless Enthusiasm, I visit with award-winning author Andrea Castle about her children's books,
Kibby the Space Dog, which won 2 national awards, the Gold Mom's Choice and the Gold Pinnacle Award.
Also, I speak with Elizabeth Cochran, who is an intensate aerobics instructor.
I realized it was fun, and I was able very quickly to get over a sense of perfectionism that I fought with my whole life.
All this and more on this episode of Ageless Enthusiasm. Hi, I'm Mindy East, and this is Ageless Enthusiasm. Today, my guest is Andrea Castle. Welcome, Andrea.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So many people might recognize you from your segment on Castle's Corner. You had a DIY show.
Right, Health and Beauty, with Channel 12.
You're also a former Miami Dolphin cheerleader, former Mrs. Kansas.
Yes.
And you're just very well known around Wichita, but you're not living here right now.
Yes, I'm living in Georgia. My husband decided he wanted to play golf everlasting forever, and we moved to Georgia. And
yes.
My whole family, my children are here, so I am here.
You're that perfect go-to kid that we talk about on the show. You're a brand new grandmother. Congratulations,
Thank you.
by the way,
Thank you.
little Theo.
Thank you.
And then you still have active, aging, older parents.
Yes, I do.
That live in Miami.
Right. My dad is 95 and my mother is 91. And they're both living on their own. And my mother still cooks, and they go to lunch and they go to movies. So it's kind of a blessing, really.
Oh,
they're
it's a
aging
huge
gracefully.
Blessing. Huge blessing. Now, you have written, speaking of cooking, you've written 4 books.
I have.
And your first book is Naima's Hands.
Right.
So it's a Mediterranean cookbook in honor of your grandmother.
Yes, my grandmother lived to 101, and I wanted to preserve her recipes to give to my children, but incidentally, it turned out to be a very well-known cookbook. It got out there, and it was very popular.
And then you're an award-winning author, children's author, and you've written 3 books around your real-life pet, Kibby, who is near and dear to me. And the first one is called
Kibby the Space Dog, which won 2 national awards, the Gold Mom's Choice and the Gold Pinnacle Award. And that teaches children not to judge others for the way you look. So all of my books are life lessons for children. The second one is Kibby Gets a Little Sister, which teaches you to get along with siblings. And the third one is Kibby and Olive Moved to Georgia, which teaches you about change and moving and all those wonderful things. So I feel really blessed to have that career later in my life.
Right. And you're a former teacher of special needs.
Yes, right. So over 30 years.
So as a special needs teacher, you were aware of issues that might be sensitive in nature. So you wrote about that using Kibby's visit to the vet.
You're exactly right. No, I mean, exactly.
With his cone.
Right. Yeah. So being a special ed teacher, I knew that my children were getting made fun of. And so that also prompted me, when he had to wear the cone, everyone was making fun of him. And I needed to somehow see if I could transform that feeling as a teacher into the real life, because we all love dog stories, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's looking through the eyes of my dog, Kibby. And so that's basically, how I decided to go down that hill with it all.
Another thing, you're a performer, and you have been in a band for a long time.
I was in a band.
You were in a band.
Yes, I was in a band with 5 lawyers. Yeah.
Yeah, you've performed on national stage with Dick Clark and Barbara Eden.
Yes, I sang at the Miss USA pageant, and which was such an amazing experience to be able to do that. And I had fun. I had a good time.
What a neat experience. Well, I think your life, you do have fun. You know, and the show is all about redefining life, health, and happiness.
Right.
So you're having a lot of fun.
I am now, still.
And I know you've got, you've raised 4 kids.
Right.
And you've got some high achievers that you pass along your work ethic to. So people here in Wichita might know their restaurants. Your sons, Brent and Brad, have The Hill, Bora, sorry, the
okay.
Wine Dive.
The Wine Dive. And they have Wine Dive Kitchen in Manhattan and Lawrence. And then they also have 3 Twin Peaks.
Yes, they just
acquired those, right?
Yes.
So they're a little high achieving, I would say.
So what?
And I get fed well when I'm in town.
Yes. Did you raise them with a motto or a special encouragement?
So I did, and thank you for that. I had them in the kitchen with me and never said, you know, get out when I was cooking. We never ate fast food. We always ate it at the dinner table as a family, and they never had, you know, burgers or anything like that. And so I wanted them to believe in themselves and be the best that they could be within themselves. And my son Brent was 25 in the nation in tennis. My daughter Corey was 49 in tennis. And so I think you have to teach your children, it's within you, and don't worry about what other people think. Just be good within your skills and your talents.
Right.
And I've worked hard at that. Yeah.
When you have a motto, a special motto about working, what is that? And that stayed with me. I'd love for you to share that with our audience.
Thank you. Yes. So what it is each day, each minute is special. Never stop creating who you are. And I'm going to be 67, and I'm not done creating who I am.
Right.
Who knows where I'm going to go next time? So with my first children's book, the Wichita Children's Theater took it over and it turned into a children's musical. Well, in Atlanta now wants to take over and buy the rights to that. And then we're probably going to go to, you know, on to Broadway. So that's my next kind of
cool.
Yay, let's do this kind of thing, you know?
So it's never too late to start something.
No,
and
anybody
follow
can
a passion.
Yes.
Follow a
you
dream.
can do anything, and you have to find your God-given talents. We all have them.
Sure.
But some people don't know what they are, right? And so once you find them, you tap into them, you have to push through it. Hey, it sounds like, oh, this is so easy. I was, you know, this, I was a Miami Dolphin cheerleader, I was this, but there was work that was involved in that.
How did that come to you? Was it an epiphany? Was it just through years of weeding things out? How did you decide this was your passion?
Well, I had my mother was a principal. Hello.
Yes.
Just say that word and you know what I'm talking about. My dad was a professor, so they instilled in me never to give up. And my mother would put me in a million things to kind of find my talents. And I was good at a lot of things, so she threw me into those.
Right. Weren't you in pageants when you were younger?
I was. Pageant? Well, I had a lot of hair on my arms, believe it or not, and I was made fun of. So again, the first book really came real for me to my heart.
Hit home.
Yeah, and I was really hairy. And till this day, I believe it or not, I kind of shaved them because they're long, you know. And they would, my last name was Zare, and they would call me Harry Zary. And I cried, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And my mother said, no, you're not going to touch it. I'm not going to let you. You're beautiful. And I would say, oh, it's because I'm your daughter. You know, you were going to say that. So she stuck me in a pageant, and I got, you know, first place. And that changed everything for me. And I was 13. And she said, see? And then it's not about the beauty on the outside, as you and I have talked about this a lot as friends. So the beauty is within you, and it's not all about your looks. And it is about aging gracefully and being happy, be proud of who you are. So when my grandmother was 101, she was very proud to tell people about that age.
I think so. I think we need to wear that, you know, proudly, because not everyone is afforded that privilege of getting older.
Right.
One thing that I remember you saying was, when I asked what your motto was, that wasn't it, but that was a good one.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about now.
Why don't we, tell us about that one.
So that one is, okay, so you know how some people have different careers? Like people would think, oh, you're special because you were Mrs. Kansas and you were Miami Dolphin cheerleader in the undefeated season, which, you know, is exceptional. And you know, you did this and you did that. People think that that's celebrityism. I don't look at it that way. I think of it as we're all equal. We just have different jobs.
I love that.
And I never thought I was any better than anyone else. So even the person that takes my trash is special to me. He just has a different job.
Sure.
So I think that's the important piece.
Well,
you know, and looking at life that way and keeping yourself grounded and humble and kind.
And with your sons and all their wonderful workers, I know you've met some amazing servers. I've always thought, you know, if you're nice to me but you're rude to the server, you're not a nice person.
Right.
You know, it's how we treat other people, because, you know, we're not buying or selling anything in heaven. So at the end of the day, it's really how we treat others.
It is. It is. And so many people don't see it that way. They think just because they have this job or they have more money than you, that they're in a different bracket, and they're not. We're all created equally.
Well, let's take a little break.
Okay.
And I'm going to go get another perspective on this same topic, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
And now I have my guest, Elizabeth Cochran, who is working on becoming the best possible version of herself in her life. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Mindy. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. Well, people might recognize you from around Wichita because you're the director of the Downtown Rotary Club.
Yes.
But you also have a very interesting passion that you picked up when you were living in New York and LA, and that is an aerobics class with positive affirmations called Intensate.
Yes,
Did I say that right?
You did.
Tell us what that is.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for having me here today. Yes, what started out as an experiment in overcoming depression in my life has turned into a really passionate side gig of mine that I'm really excited to have brought to Wichita. I am from Wichita. And I moved to New York City when I was 18 years old.
Wow, that's gutsy.
With my big luggage set that I picked out at TJ Maxx and got on the plane. And
love it.
After graduating from East High. But anyway, you know, while I was in New York, I was in the fashion industry and also really a part of this sort of underground nightlife culture with nightclubs and dancing and DJs. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of bad behavior. And at some point in time, I had decided, you know, I was getting a little bit too old for staying out all night and dancing. And as much as I loved the communal aspect of all of that, I was getting really tired with the alcohol and recreational drugs. I was just growing out of it and searching for something deeper. And a friend of mine said there was an aerobics class at the big fancy gym in New York, which is called Equinox, that she loved, and she thought I would like it. And I said, oh, okay. I had never joined a gym before. I was not an exerciser. In fact, I kind of judged the people that spent all their time at the gym. And she told me that it was an aerobics class where you yell out positive affirmations while you're exercising.
Yeah, what is that all about?
I don't know, because I threw up in my mouth and rolled my eyes. I couldn't believe like such a hideous concept existed in the world.
It's almost like a Saturday Night Live skit where you think of some random, you know, Stuart Smalley things. So tell us more.
The way she got me is she said they play really good dance music. And while I wasn't going to nightclubs anymore, I did miss that sort of aspect of loud music and dancing with other people. And
the fun.
Yeah, and it's fun and uplifting. So I went to the first class. She gave me a 3-day pass to the gym. And I will never forget walking into this gym, which was intimidating. It was a very fancy gym. And the exercise studio was dimly lit. People were sitting down on the floor talking to each other. And I just remember walking in thinking, why are people talking to each other? Why are people being friendly? This is an exercise class. Why are they sitting down? Why did I wear this outfit? I look fat. There's a stain on my shirt. I can't do this. Why am I here? Get me out. You know, this ridiculous conversation and fear.
Okay.
And just intimidation.
So you had to overcome a lot.
Yes. And I had been working through some minor depression in my life at that time too, so that just kind of took over. So I sat down in the back of the room and I hid. And this glorious, earthy, wonderful looking woman walked to the front of the room, not your typical aerobics instructor. tall, statuesque, just cool, no makeup, nothing, real low key. And it turns out this is the woman who invented the whole practice, but I did not know that at the time. So the first thing she said, she didn't even say hello. She looked at all of us and said, you have no power over what happens to you in your day-to-day life. Your only power is in how you react to it. And I burst into tears, just quietly, because I felt a ray of sunshine come through the clouds. I was like, all right, there's a way out of this. There's a way out of this. And I know now that is a very famous Stoic philosophic saying, but that was the first time I had heard it. So anyway, I was in the back. The class kicked my butt. It was so hard aerobically, and I did not say a single affirmation out loud. And the way it works, it's call and response. So she tells you what to say. Like the teacher yells it out, the class yells it back. So it's very loud, a lot of energy, and I was still just self-conscious and hid in the back. So I marched out of that class. I joined the fancy gym that I could not afford. And I started going 3, 4, 5 times a week. And it was probably 3 or 4 months before I started saying the affirmations out loud. I really just hid in the back of this room of 40, 50, 60 people. But it really started to change my life very quickly.
In what way?
Well, I believe that the metric is that we think 80,000 unique thoughts a day, but 60% of them are negative and repeated. Something like that, don't quote me on that. And what the affirmations do is a few things. First of all, they occupy your brain while you're exercising. So you're not worrying about what you did wrong that day or the mistakes you made or an uncomfortable conversation you have to have with your child or your spouse later, or what's for dinner, or I don't want to cook again, or I have to clean up my room, you know, whatever, just the nonsense your brain feeds you. So for 1 hour, that voice is shut down. And so the time goes by very quickly because your brain doesn't wander. But more importantly, with the endorphins you get from exercising, when you mix a positive idea in with it, I would say at least quadruples the power of that idea. So you start to believe in yourself and you start to believe the affirmations, and in that moment you can feel them. So then when you leave the class, what happens over time is you learn how to lift the needle off the record in your head, which tends to be pretty negative and demoralizing. And you know, I don't really think it matters how old you are, or if you're male or female, if you're in shape, if you're not, if you're financially successful or not. We all have that self-defeatist track. It's just wired in us. And I will say that voice never goes away, but over time you learn that you're in charge of it and you can ignore it, which I think is the real power of the class, is you learn you're the thinker, not the thoughts, and you get to choose what thought you have next, and that's where your power is.
So how's that impacted your life in a positive way? What kind of changes did you make?
Well, first of all, I realized it was fun, and I was able very quickly to get over a sense of perfectionism that I fought with my whole life by doing this kind of outrageous exercise class. That was nothing I had ever done before. I used to really judge myself, and I wouldn't want to try anything new unless I could do it perfectly and look perfect and be perfect, and just, I don't know where we pick up that nonsense idea in our life, but it's out there, right?
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
And so you eventually became an instructor.
I did, which was kind of a funny story. So I had been in the class 6 or 7 months probably, and I was making new friends. You know, we tended to socialize together. We would work out together. It was just a much healthier pursuit than what I had been involved in, but it was replacing and speaking to that need for connection and community that we all have. And the one thing, though, that I always wished I could be in control of was the music, which came from my old nightclub days. Like, I used to be friends with famous DJs, and it was a big thing back in the late 90s and early 2000s in New York. And so I had all this great music, and I just wanted to be in control of the music. So that's why I became an instructor, which is, I guess, whatever gets you in the door, right? So I signed up for the training, which I could not believe I was going to do something like that. And it was 6 straight days of 12 hours a day of training. Good. 4, 3. More in my life. I want more in my life. I want more than just faith. I want more than just faith. 2, 1, uplift. Suddenly this feels really easy. No. Or at least practice choosing another thought, right?
Wow. And you eventually moved to LA and did the same thing there, right?
I did. So I got the training, and I was part of a collective group that taught in New York. And funnily enough, on the site of my old favorite nightclub, which had been torn down, and a recreational building had been built there instead. So it was my old stomping grounds, literally. So I taught that in New York for a few years. And then life took me to LA. And in LA, I just taught it with friends. It wasn't a huge public offering, but we practiced it pretty consistently. Right. And then we were in Venice Beach, so we would get all sweaty and work out and go jump in the ocean, which was a pretty nice life, actually.
Well, thank you for your time today. I can't
Absolutely.
wait. I've been in your class, and it did kick my butt. So we'll have to have everyone check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to say this about the class, that it can be intimidating, but as an aerobics class, there are people of all ages that come.
Yeah.
I have students in their 20s up to in their 70s. And everyone moves differently. So you can tailor the class to how much you want to work that day or where your balance is that day. The important thing is just being open to the affirmations, because that's what really moves the needle in your own life.
Changes your life.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Elizabeth.
you.
Appreciate you being here
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. Anytime.
All right. Thank you. Now we're getting back to our conversation with Andrea. Andrea, tell me a little bit more about your move to Georgia. What did that involve for you as far as change?
That's such a great question. My husband retired and from Wichita, and he wanted to play golf, and forever. And where we moved was a whole golf community and wonderful area. And he said, if you don't like it, then you can come back, and we'll make the change. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was very difficult. Could you imagine uprooting your 4 children and your grandkids and all of your friends that you've been friends with for over 40-something years and saying, okay, let's just go in the middle of nowhere.
And you didn't know anyone?
No, I didn't know anybody.
You had Kibby.
I took my dog, so I had my dog and my husband.
Yeah.
So again, it's reinventing yourself. So you have to think outside the box. You have to think, okay, I'm going to get involved. So now I'm on the board of Boys and Girls Club. Guess what? I'm meeting people, right?
Right.
Networking. You could be in book clubs. You can, work out and meet workout people. It's very difficult, though, to find those friends that you had previously. They're not going to be the same. It's just like every friend is not the same. You have your movie friend, you have your fun friend, you have your friend that you can talk to.
Pickleball friend.
Right, right. So I look at it that way, that I'm going to get my relationship from them as they are from me. And I throw myself into still my books. I do a lot of signings.
Yeah.
I go to schools. I put myself out there. I try to tour, and when I can take Kibby with me. And then I meet a lot of wonderful people through that. I just did a cooking for the food pantry with my cookbook, and I made $5,000 for them. Somebody had to pay $20 to watch it, and I had it already pre-made, and then I made the product. And I got to tell you, that was awesome, and I got so much feedback saying, oh my gosh, I don't like to cook, but I could do that, right? So you make friends that way. Is it like it is for my husband? Probably not. We're just different people. But I'm embracing it. I'm embracing I'm a Georgia peach now, and I'm not a sunflower girl. And I'm having fun. I really am. But when I come back here, it's like nothing ever changes. Like when you go back to your reunions, you can pick up right where you started from, So it's
the best of both worlds.
It is,
Yes.
yeah.
You're
and then
fortunate.
you and I are the same thing. We can never see each other and then pick up right where we started from,
So in closing, Andrea, your message is it's never too late. It's never too, you're never too old to chase after your passion.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It was a joy to have you on tonight.
Thank you. I enjoyed every minute of sitting here with you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us tonight on Ageless Enthusiasm.